Alright, Bessie Coleman. Early life. Bessie Coleman was born on January 22nd, 1892 in Atlanta, Texas. She was one of 13 children to George and Susan Coleman and grew up in Waxahachie, Texas, where her mathematical aptitude freed her from working in the cotton fields. She attended college in Langston, Oklahoma briefly before moving to Chicago, where she worked as a manicurist and restaurant manager and became interested in the new profession of aviation. Only 8 of her siblings survived childhood, which was an average survival rate amongst children at the time. Coleman began attending school in Waxahachie at the age of 6, where she had to walk 4 miles each day to her segregated one-room school. In 1901, George Coleman left his family and returned to Oklahoma to find better opportunities, but his wife and children did not follow. At the age of 12, Bessie was accepted into the Missionary Baptist Church School on scholarship. When she turned 18, she took her savings and enrolled in Oklahoma Colored Agricultural and Normal University in Langston, Oklahoma, now called Langston University. She completed 1 term before her money ran out and she had to return home. France. Although discrimination prevented Coleman's attempts to enter aviation schools in the United States, she was able to learn French and in 1920 was accepted at the Caudron Brothers School of Aviation. Robert Abbott, an unprejudiced aviation advocate, assisted with her tuition. On June 15, 1921, she became the first American woman to obtain an international pilot's license. In further training in France, she specialized in stunt flying and parachuting. She eventually returned to the United States, where racial and gender biases prevented her from becoming a commercial pilot. Stunt flying or barnstorming was her only career option. Barnstorming. With commercial flight still far from a successful industry, Coleman came to the realization that in order to make a living as a civilian aviator, she would have to become a barnstormer, performing dangerous tricks in the then still early technology of airplanes for paying audiences. But in order to succeed, she would need advanced lessons and a more extensive skill set. Returning to Chicago, Coleman could not find anyone willing to teach her, so in February 1922, she sailed again for Europe. She spent the next 2 months in France completing an advanced aviation course. She then left for the Netherlands to meet with Anthony Fokker, one of the world's most distinguished aircraft designers. She also traveled to Germany, where she visited the Fokker Corporation and received additional training from one of the company's chief pilots. She then returned to the United States and launched her career in exhibition flying. Legacy. On April 30th, 1926, Coleman passed away in Jacksonville, Florida. After months of flying borrowed planes, Coleman finally had enough money to purchase a Curtiss JN-4, or Jenny, from an Army depot in Los Angeles in early 1923. Later, on William D. Willis, her mechanic and publicity agent, flew the plane from Dallas in preparation for an air show and had to make 3 forced landings along the way since the plane had been improperly maintained. Upon learning this, Coleman's friends and family did not consider the aircraft safe and implored her not to fly it. She refused. On takeoff, Wills was flying the plane with Coleman in the other seat. She was planning a parachute jump for the next day and wanted to examine the terrain as seen from the cockpit. About 10 minutes into the flight, the plane unexpectedly went into a dive and then a spin at 3,000 feet above the ground. Coleman was thrown from the plane at 2,000 feet and died instantly when she hit the ground. William Wills was unable to regain control of the plane, and it plummeted to the ground. Wills also died upon impact. The plane exploded, bursting into flames. Although the wreckage of the plane was badly burned, it was discovered later that a wrench was used to service the engine had jammed the controls. Coleman was 34 years old. Funeral services were held in Florida before her body was sent back to Chicago. While there was little mention in most media, News of her death was widely carried in the African American press. 10,000 mourners attended her ceremonies in Chicago. Overall, Bessie Coleman will be a large influence on aviation and will be remembered as the first black female aviator. And these are my resources.